The Young and the Restless spoilers. The Young and the Restless spoilers for the week of July 6 promise a tense, emotional, and potentially dangerous stretch of episodes in Genoa City, where one family will be forced to confront the terrifying aftermath of violence, another will try to rebuild after a medical crisis, and a man with no clear direction may suddenly find himself pulled into a powerful new alliance. The weekly preview sets the tone immediately. Nothing in Genoa City stays calm for long, and even the moments that seem quiet on the surface are loaded with consequences waiting to explode. Diane Abbott and Kyle Abbott may believe they are finally returning home after surviving the nightmare of a hostage situation, but what awaits them inside the Abbott house could be far worse than anything they imagined. Meanwhile, Nikki Newman is brought back to the ranch after her time in the hospital, but her recovery is not simply a matter of rest and comfort. With bandages still covering her eyes and uncertainty surrounding her condition, Nikki's homecoming carries a painful sense of vulnerability. Elsewhere, Holden Novak stands at a crossroads, and Kane Ashby appears ready to offer him a path forward that could reshape his place in Genoa City. The preview opens with a scene at the GCAC, where Holden Novak, Lily Winters, and Kane Ashby sit together at a table. At first glance, the moment may seem calm compared with the chaos unfolding elsewhere, but beneath the surface, there is a very clear sense that Kane is studying the situation carefully. Lily asks Holden about his next move, a question that sounds simple but carries much more weight than it appears. Holden's response reveals that he has no real plan. He does not know what comes next. He does not seem to have a solid direction, a stable purpose, or a strategy for how to move forward in Genoa City. That uncertainty makes him vulnerable, but it also makes him valuable to someone like Kane. Kane has always understood the importance of timing, opportunity, and influence, and when he hears Holden admit that he has no idea what he is going to do, Kane does not respond with pity. Instead, he sees an opening. His line, "Maybe we can help you with that," lands like the beginning of a deal that has not yet been fully spoken aloud. The question is not simply whether Kane wants to help Holden. The real question is what Kane expects in return. All signs point to Kane possibly offering Holden a role at Chancellor, and if that is the case, this could become one of the most important developments of the week. Holden may be directionless, but that does not mean he is useless. On the contrary, Kane may see in him someone who can be shaped, positioned, and perhaps used in ways Holden does not yet understand. A job offer from Kane would not be an ordinary act of generosity. In Genoa City, employment is rarely just employment. A position inside a powerful company can become a weapon, a loyalty test, a trap, or a doorway into secrets that certain people would rather keep buried. If Kane brings Holden into Chancellor, he may be doing far more than giving him a chance. He may be placing him on a chessboard. Lily's presence at the table makes the moment even more complicated. She may be asking Holden about his future out of genuine concern, but she also knows Kane well enough to understand that his offers are never completely simple. If she senses that Kane is maneuvering Holden into something bigger, she could become suspicious quickly. The emotional tension in this scene comes from the fact that everyone appears civilized, but nobody is truly neutral. Holden needs direction, Lily needs answers, and Kane may already be several steps ahead. While Kane's offer could open a new business-driven storyline, the Newman Ranch brings a completely different kind of drama. Nikki Newman returns home from the hospital, and the preview makes it clear that Victor Newman wants her at the ranch to recover. For Victor, bringing Nikki back to the ranch is not only about comfort. It is about control, protection, and the need to keep the woman he loves close after a frightening medical ordeal. Victor has always believed that his home is his fortress, and in moments of crisis, his instinct is to gather his family behind those walls. But Nikki's return does not feel triumphant. It feels fragile. Victoria Newman guides her into the house, while Nick Newman walks beside her and tells her to watch her step. That simple warning is heartbreaking because Nikki cannot see. Her eyes are covered with bandages, and every step into the home she knows so well now requires trust. The ranch may be familiar, but for Nikki, it has suddenly become uncertain terrain. The furniture, the doorways, the floor beneath her feet, even the faces of the people she loves are beyond her reach. She is back in the place where she should feel safest, but safety means something different when darkness has replaced sight. Nikki's homecoming will likely be one of the most emotional threads of the week because it forces the Newman family into a rare position of helplessness. Victor can command boardrooms, intimidate enemies, and move mountains when someone threatens his family, but he cannot simply order Nikki's eyes to heal. Victoria can support her mother with tenderness and strength, but she cannot erase the fear Nikki may be hiding behind those bandages. Nick can steady her steps, but he cannot give her certainty about what happens next. This is the kind of crisis that cuts through the Newman family's usual armor. There is no hostile takeover to fight, no rival to crush, no business enemy to outmaneuver. There is only Nikki, vulnerable and recovering, surrounded by people who love her but cannot fully protect her from the unknown. The emotional power of this storyline lies in that contrast. Nikki Newman has survived addiction, heartbreak, betrayal, violence, and endless family turmoil. Yet this moment reduces everything to one painful question. Will she fully recover, or has her life changed in a way none of them are ready to accept? Victor's insistence that Nikki recover at the ranch also suggests that he may become even more protective than usual. That could comfort Nikki, but it could also create tension. Nikki has always had strength of her own, and if Victor becomes too controlling in the name of love, she may begin to feel trapped rather than cared for. The ranch may be a sanctuary, but it can also become a place where fear is hidden behind luxury and silence. Victoria and Nick may find themselves caught between honoring Victor's desire to protect Nikki and respecting Nikki's need to regain independence. This could create quiet but meaningful family conflict, especially if Nikki senses that everyone is treating her as more fragile than she wants to be. Her physical recovery may be only one part of the story. Her emotional recovery could be much harder. She will have to adjust to vulnerability, accept help without losing herself, and confront the terrifying possibility that the woman who walked into the hospital may not be exactly the same woman who has returned home. Yet the most shocking and terrifying part of the preview belongs to the Abbott family. Diane Abbott and Kyle Abbott finally return home after the nightmare of Diane's hostage ordeal, and when they step inside, they appear relieved. For a brief moment, it seems as if the worst is behind them. After everything Diane endured, after Kyle's fear and desperation, after the chaos that threatened to consume them, walking through the door of the Abbott home should feel like the end of the horror. Instead, it may be the beginning of an even greater one. Diane and Kyle are happy at first, but that happiness quickly fades when they realize Jack Abbott is nowhere to be found. The absence is immediate and unsettling. Jack should be there. After such a traumatic experience, his presence should be the anchor that brings the family back together. But the house is too quiet, and that quiet is not peaceful. It is dangerous. Viewers know something Diane and Kyle do not yet know. Jack was brutally stabbed by Patty Williams in the Friday, July 3 episode. Patty attacked him with a sharp kitchen knife, and the violence of that moment changed everything. Jack did not simply suffer an injury, he became the center of Patty's unstable and desperate emotional spiral. After stabbing him, Patty fell to the ground with him, clinging to him and promising that she would stay with him the whole time. That disturbing image reveals the twisted emotional logic driving Patty. In her mind, violence and devotion have become entangled. She can hurt Jack and still believe she is loving him. She can destroy him and still imagine herself as the only person who will never leave his side. That makes her far more dangerous than someone acting out of simple revenge. Patty is not merely angry. She is delusional, desperate, and emotionally fixated. That combination could turn the Abbott home into a trap. When Diane and Kyle call out or wonder where Jack is, the dread rises because the audience already understands that every second matters. If Jack is bleeding somewhere in the house, Diane and Kyle's delay could cost him his life. If Patty is still inside, then Diane and Kyle may have walked directly into danger. The preview ends with the sound of something crashing in the kitchen, and that sound instantly shifts the scene from confusion to terror. It suggests movement, struggle, panic, or another act of violence. Diane and Kyle do not yet know whether they are about to find Jack injured, Patty armed, or both. The kitchen, once an ordinary part of the family home, may now be the scene of blood, fear, and chaos. The question hanging over the moment is brutal. Has Patty already done enough damage, or is she only getting started? Diane's reaction to this situation could be especially powerful. After surviving her own hostage nightmare, she may have believed she was finally safe. Coming home should have represented relief, reunion, and the chance to breathe again. Instead, she may be forced to confront a horrifying truth. While she was fighting to survive, Jack was being pulled into his own nightmare. The guilt could be overwhelming. Diane may wonder whether her ordeal distracted everyone from the danger Patty posed. She may blame herself for not reaching Jack sooner, even if the situation was never truly in her control. For Kyle, the emotional stakes are just as devastating. He has already been pushed through fear, desperation, and failure, and now he may have to face the possibility of losing his father. Kyle's bond with Jack is complicated by family history, conflict, loyalty, and love. But in a moment like this, all that matters is the sight of his father in danger. If Kyle finds Jack bleeding or unconscious, his panic could turn into rage, and Patty may become the target of that rage. The possibility that Patty could attack Diane and Kyle as well makes this cliffhanger even more disturbing. Patty has already crossed a line by stabbing Jack. Once a character reaches that point, the danger becomes unpredictable. If she sees Diane as a threat to her connection with Jack, Diane could be in immediate danger. If Kyle tries to intervene, Patty may lash out at him too. Her promise to stay with Jack might sound emotional, but it could also mean that she will do anything to stop anyone else from taking him away from her. Diane and Kyle may not simply discover a crime scene. They may become part of one. The Abbott family's return home could turn into a desperate fight for survival, with Jack's life hanging in the balance and Patty's instability escalating by the second. This storyline also raises a larger question about how the Abbott family will recover from such a violation. The Abbott home has long been a symbol of family legacy, history, and identity. It is the place where generations of Abbott drama have unfolded, but it is also supposed to be a refuge. Patty's violence changes that. If Jack was attacked in his own home, then the sense of safety around the family has been shattered. Diane and Kyle's fear will not end once the immediate crisis is over. Even if Jack survives, the trauma of what happened will remain. The house itself may feel haunted by the memory of the attack. Every sound in the kitchen, every shadow in the hallway, every moment of silence could remind them of how quickly peace turned into horror. For a family already strained by conflict, secrets, and past mistakes, this could either pull them together or expose every weakness they have been trying to ignore. The week of July 6 to July 10 therefore appears to be built around three different forms of uncertainty. Holden does not know what he wants next, and Kane may use that uncertainty to draw him into a powerful new arrangement. Nikki does not know what her recovery will look like, and the Newman family must face the painful limits of their ability to protect her. Diane and Kyle do not know what awaits them inside the Abbott home, and their search for Jack may lead them straight into the aftermath of Patty's violence. Each storyline has a different tone, but they all share the same central question. What happens when people are forced to move forward without knowing what comes next? Kane's potential offer to Holden could quietly become the seed of a much larger power struggle. Nikki's recovery could deepen the emotional bonds within the Newman family, while also testing Victor's need for control. But the Abbott storyline is clearly positioned as the week's most immediate and frightening crisis. Jack's fate is uncertain, Patty's state of mind is dangerous, and Diane and Kyle may be seconds away from discovering a scene that will change everything. The crashing sound in the kitchen is more than a simple cliffhanger. It is a warning. Something terrible has happened. Something worse may still happen, and the Abbott family may never be the same once they step fully into that room. As the new week begins, viewers will be watching for answers. Will Kane truly offer Holden a job at Chancellor, and if so, what hidden agenda might be attached to it? Will Holden accept the opportunity because he needs direction? Or will he realize too late that Kane's help comes with strings? Will Nikki regain her sight and confidence? Or will her recovery become a longer and more painful battle than the Newman family expects? Will Victor's protective instincts comfort Nikki or push her to fight for control over her own life? And most urgently, will Diane and Kyle find Jack in time? Has Patty fled? Or is she still inside the Abbott home, armed, unstable, and ready to strike again? The Young and the Restless is setting up a week filled with fear, temptation, loyalty, and emotional fallout. And by the time Diane and Kyle follow that crashing sound into the kitchen, Genoa City may be standing on the edge of another devastating turning point.